Welcome to the Sex Reimagined Podcast. A special thanks for all of you followers who like, subscribe, and comment to the show. I'm Leah Piper, your Tantra expert, and I'm with Dr. Willow Brown, our Taoist expert.
And today we had Ameenah Asante, who's a transformational life coach, psychic intuitive, and most importantly, a human design specialist. And that's what we talked about on this episode, how to use human design to transform love, sex, and intimacy and create more healthy, happy, harmonious relationships. Ameenah is also the creator of the She Collective, which is a dynamic whole industry where she does lots of different things, but it was so fun just to really focus in on human design with her.
Yes, she is a homegirl from my hometown, East Lansing, Michigan. So you should definitely tune in, turn on, and fall in love with this gorgeous, wonderful, talented Ameenah Asante.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined Podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Ameenah from East Lansing, Michigan.
With Ameenah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Ameenah Asante, welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, so Ameenah is a Jill of all trades. Gosh, she does it all, everything from like doula work to dance. She's teaching all these amazing women how to dance. And she also does human design. So that's mostly what we're going to talk about today, is how you can use the modality of human design to open up your love life and to have better intimacy, better sex, better love. So we're so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that I'm a Michigan girl. And there's something, it seems like most Michiganders, quote unquote Michiganders, when we see other people from Michigan, we get kind of geeky, especially if we left Michigan at some time. It's like so exciting to find another native. And so for those of you who don't know, I grew up in East Lansing, Michigan, went to high school with Ameenah. So this is extra special for me.
Totally.
Ameenah, tell us a little bit about how you got into human design and why you became passionate about it.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm someone that I really feel like I've been a coach my whole life, like a life coach my whole life, friends, family, all of those things. And at a point, probably 10 years ago, I reached this like epiphany of, it doesn't make sense that like I'm coaching, but I actually don't know who you are as a client. And then it also dawned on me, like, you don't know who you are. Like, we're all just guessing at the end of the day. We're guessing about who we are, our personalities, what makes us tick, our blind spots. And I happened across human design several years ago, and I was just blown away because immediately seeing my chart, I was like, I know this person. Even though I don't know what these shapes, colors, numbers mean, I know this person. And I immediately dove in and just was blown away by how much I learned about myself and started using it for clients and haven't looked back.
I'm so curious if you've studied other of these sort of personality typing modalities like astrology and Enneagram, if you've looked into any of those and if you've noticed a big difference for you with the human design work.
Right. So like my sister's also a coach. She's an Enneagram expert. Astrology is something that I used to dabble in when I was like a teen, but I never really could see the fullness of me until the human design.
Human design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so for people who don't know what human design is, can you explain the system a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So human design is a newer modality birthed in the 80s, but it combines all of these ancient technologies. So you have astrology, you also have the Chinese I Ching, which is a major part of it. And then you have the Jewish Kabbalah, the tree of life. And then you have the Hindu chakra system, or chakra, as we say in American English, right? So all of these combined with aspects of quantum physics to really birth this true look at how we're wired. Yeah.
So I'm curious, Ameenah, what is your human design?
Ooh, so I am what's known as a 1-3 emotional generator.
Okay.
And the if you look at my chart, the majority of the definition in my chart is all in the 4 centers towards the bottom.
Okay, those are the, let's see if I get the terminology right. That you mean you have colored,
Yes.
yes. Okay, tell me the language a little bit, because for whatever
Sure.
reason I'm
Yeah,
kind
and
of geeky
explain
on
it.
this. I do like
Explain
that.
it to the audience too. Leah's
Yeah.
just getting into human design.
I'm
She's-
pulling up our charts right now just to give you a
Yeah.
a little bit of framework.
so that we
Ameenah,
can get a
of
free
what Dr.
reading right
Willow-
now
Yeah,
on
that's
the call.
right.
I love it. I love it. Let's do it.
Let's talk about us.
Yes.
How are we supposed to play out our intimate relationships in life?
Oh my gosh, so good. So anywhere, when you look at your chart, anywhere that you see that there is color, the color is indicative
Defined.
of energy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that energy that we have in our chart shows that this energy we have access to and it is flowing. And anywhere that we have the white in our chart, this is also very important. Sometimes people mistakenly look at it and like, oh, I don't have this or I don't have that. I'm deficient in some way, which is totally not true. It just means we have access to the energy in our day-to-day life, and it really sets us up for our patterns and all these things that we're known for in the world, versus the white, which is our life learning. It's our way in which we get to become wise. So
I like that definition. So if we've got sort of a defined energy center, which kind of looks like a chakra in this system, right?
yes.
Then we have access, like daily on hand access to whatever that energy center has a propensity toward.
Correct.
And then the stuff where the colors are not quite so filled in is like where we're learning still.
Right. The white in our chart. Yes.
The white. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, explain to the audience a little bit about what I'm about to tell you about Willow. Okay.
Let's talk.
So, Willow is a generator, emotional authority, single definition, 2-4 hermit opportunist.
Nice. So, without looking at her chart, as a 2-4 hermit opportunist, I would say that Willow is most comfortable in her own energy. Or like, for example, this podcast, like being with Leah in this container, in this kind of safe space, really getting to know people one-to-one. But she also can have this extroverted side, which is the opportunist, that really enjoys interacting with a lot of people and being around energy that is unique, where she can be in the space of learning. And so that's yummy. The emotional generator part, and I'm an emotional generator as well, that piece really is indicative of us having access to our own understanding of where we are in our emotions day to day. Right?
So, in other words, like there's an emotional awareness that we're able to communicate, know, be in touch with. Is that what you mean by that? Okay.
Absolutely. So we have this knowing of like, yeah, something's funky, something's off. And we can probably attribute a why to something being off, right?
Okay.
Like we have a quicker access to what's going on with us. And in our generatorness, we can have days where we're kind of chill and able to push on through. And we can have days like for me last night, I was up until 2 a.m, like in an energy flow of work and just going and going. In our relationships, we bring a lot of vibrancy and connection and all that yummy stuff. So
All that juicy stuff.
yeah.
right.
Spot on. Pretty
Cool.
spot on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think of myself as an introverted introverted extrovert. Like
Yes.
I can rock a scene and I can get up and teach in front of hundreds of people, but
Yes.
I really like my own space and
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. There is a sensitivity there. Like if someone's energy is coming too quick, too fast into Willow's field,
I get overwhelmed.
it can fry a
I'm
circuit.
like,
So it's
bye-bye.
like, so she'll shift and maneuver.
I'll shirk people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that piece around the emotion too is really spot on as well.
Awesome.
Super
Okay, so
tuned
I
in.
also have an emotional authority. I am a manifesting generator, which is a little bit different than the generator, but with a lot of similarities.
Yes.
I have a split definition, the 2-4 hermit opportunist. So
Oh,
again, I have the
nice.
same
Very
2-4 as
similar.
Willow. Yeah.
I love it.
So I think really the only thing, at least with the brief amount of information that I'm sharing with the audience,
Yeah.
that would be different from Willow and what you just shared about her, sounds like you could repeat the same thing for me.
Yeah.
Except for the manifesting
Manifesting
generator
generator.
part.
Yeah,
So what can you
totally.
say about that?
Yeah, so first coming from your profile lines, both of you as 2-4s, you naturally have like a symbiotic relationship. Like you get each other. You're like, oh, Willow's just in her, hermit mode right now. She'll come out of her hermit in like 24 hours and then she'll reach back out. Like that type of knowing of each other's energy.
Yeah.
But you as a manifesting generator, I would, and this, I don't want to make a blanket statement about all mani-gens, as we like to call them, but in general, they have the access to most of the energy in their design. And the amount of energy that you have, and it's actually regardless of aura type, you have the most energy when you are most in alignment with who you are and who you're meant to be. And so I have many manifesting generator clients who are burnt out.
Yeah.
And I have those that are like vibrant and like just going at it. And so, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that you're a mani-gen, thinking about you in high school. Like I have memories of you zipping through the hallways, girl.
Really?
So yes, I'm sure Willow also knows your energy and how like fast you can move and like really be in a flow with work and relationships and whatever you're up to.
Yeah. I do know that there's a line to the throat, right? That's unique to manifesting generators.
Yes, it's most importantly, your sacral is defined and you have a motor to the throat.
Okay.
Yeah, the motor, there's 4 motors in the chart. One of those motors connecting directly or indirectly to the throat being the way. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to pause and say that I have not gotten into human design because it seems so complex, and I just feel like there's so many other things that I'm already deepening into with. It's like how was your learning journey, and like what was it? Tell us a little bit about like who developed human design. Where did you go to study it? I know that for you, you were like, you finally could see yourself in it. There was like a map for relationships through it. So that was really important for you. But tell us a little bit more. Cause like, I don't have the bug. I hear you talking about it and I'm like, not for me. I don't have the capacity to learn another system,
Right. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that seems harder than it actually is, like much like my name. Like you look at my name and people are like, how do you pronounce it? It's like, it's really simple. Just sound it out, I promise.
Yeah.
But with human design, even learning the basics of it, for example, like what the centers themselves mean and what they're responsible for, and your profile, like we talked about with you as 2-4s, even that information, like just scratching the surface can literally be life-changing. And so I'll give you an example. I'm a 1-3. I'm an investigative, what's called a martyr. And a lot of information or a lot of wordage in traditional human design is used to like really shock the community into understanding and curiosity. So the martyr piece doesn't mean I'm a martyr, but that's the language. It just means experimenter. And at one point in my life, I was writing a book. I was applying for another master's. I was like producing a women's music festival. And like, much like my bio, right? You're like, oh shit, what does she do? And as I learned about human design, I recognized that this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to
different things.
Yeah, I'm meant to experiment all over the place. And I released so much self-judgment from this knowledge. And so my point being, understanding that you all as 2-4s, that you get to hermit and like you don't have to be like ashamed of needing your alone time and like whatever negative aspects have been applied to people that like distance themselves and need to be in their own space. You now know 2-4 and what that means. Like, it's okay if I'm not always about the party or hanging out and whatever. And so, yeah.
I think also what's interesting, and I think can be applicable even to people who don't go deep with human design. I'm curious to see how this resonates with you, Willow, is understanding your strategy, because everyone has a strategy. And I know one of the things, being a manifesting generator, that I am working on is being okay with saying no. Like, really making sure that what I say yes to feels really good to my body. And then there's a feeling, a felt sense of I open, and then noticing anything in my body that feels like gets tight, then I kind of refer to it as I close. And then also being okay if I make a mistake and said yes to something, how can I pull out of it when it's no longer working? Really makes me feel uncomfortable, because obviously I want to have integrity with my word. I want to follow through on my promises. I take commitment very seriously. There's this whole conditioned work ethic thing going on. And so there's parts of making changes to take really good care of myself, like anybody who's starting to go to the gym for the first time. It's uncomfortable, it's uneasy, and so I'm finding tricks and ways to make that work for me better. Because one of my strategies as the generator is to pay attention to yum and yucks. It's like or And if you go neutral, usually I'll just put it into the category. Unless it has a different felt sense. And there was one more thing, being a manifesting generator, which is learning how to be okay with the fact that I change my mind a lot. Like, I'll get really excited about something, and if it starts to fizzle, I'm like, okay, well, I got to go find the next thing that's going to excite me. And like that, just making space for that, for my attention to shift to something else. There often comes some guilt about that, because I don't want to seem flaky. So
see, now I change my mind a lot, but I don't feel guilty about it. Is that just a generator thing, or is that a manifesting generator thing?
It's really a design thing, right? And also your own work that you've done, and the beliefs and the values that you hold, right? We could have been born with at the same time on the same date and have the same design, but if we're conditioned in two different households, one who affirms you as a girl.
I always think that's a reaction from growing up with your mom, Willow.
What? Changing my mind a lot?
Being guilt-free.
Oh.
Changing my mind, and I'm not going to go into the whole disease to please. I'm going to just be okay. I'm going to be autonomous.
Because I saw my mom do that, and I was like, F that, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I think it's a rebellion piece, which turned out to be pretty healthy.
See that? Now that's my Aquarian, right? It's like the rebellion.
That's right.
Okay. Enough about us. How can people?
What do you mean enough about us?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about how people can use this. Like, obviously, we're getting a good example how Leah and I use it in our relationship. But
I thought it might be helpful to give her some information about Matt, my husband.
Okay.
And see if there's a comparison there.
Or just let's start with like how you use it, Ameenah, in your work with clients who are coming to you for help with their intimate life, whether it's I want to meet someone, or I've been with someone for 20 years, whether it's around sexuality or they're just not feeling like emotionally connected.
But I do at some point just want to like bookmark right here. We were talking about strategies, and I just went into my understanding of my strategy, but I don't want to leave that off the table. So we can hop over to Willow's question about how you work with people who are looking for a partnership. But I just want to remember.
Come back to strategy.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So I use human design in my coaching in numerous ways, but regarding love and relationships, there are some major places that we get to look in the chart and the design in order to really understand ourselves first, and then understand either the person we're with or who we've dated in the past, and then also potential right fits for us. So starting with the self first always. I'll have people that I'll, come in and they're like, I just want to know if this person I've been seeing for 3 years is actually serious and yada yada. And got it. And also, let's look at you. Like, let's look at you. We're so quick to, look at the other person and see what's wrong with them. But like, let's look at us and see who we actually are, and like, what are our blind spots, what are our patterns, and start there. So when you look at the chart, and I'll give you just one of the basic aspects of it, right? When you look at your chart, you're going to see the different colors in the lines. So imagine you have these particular lines on paper. And when you have attraction, basic attraction is based on someone having the opposite line in the same pathway. And that's called a channel. So let's say I have line 22, which I do, gate 22. And I can find that the majority of people that I'm attracted to in my life have gate 12, which is its counterpart in the same pathway. And so when I meet a 12, immediately I'm like, oh my God, there's something about this person. They're just so
lean into this person.
Yes. And that energy, because they are programming partners, because they are companions, that whole old school Jerry Maguire quote, "You complete me," there's an aspect of it that's true. And as corny as I used to think that was, it actually has truth to it, because when you are in the energy of that other person, there's an experience of completeness, because I speak a language that you automatically get, and vice versa. My energy is settled because there's that symbiotic relationship. So it's really, really powerful, and it makes the relationships really juicy and yummy in all ways. And also, when we experience heartbreak and breakup, the disconnection of no longer having access to that programming partner, that energy, is really disruptive to our energy field and makes breakups so hard sometimes.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that true for every line that has sort of that complementary but opposing connection?
It is. Every time you have your chart and your design, and you have someone else that has that opposite, there's an immediate understanding. I had a client who brought in her boyfriend at the time, and they made 13 connections in their chart. So the 13 channels were completed.
I'm assuming that's very unusual.
That must have been a really hard breakup.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it was. They had some other things happening. And again, to the point of how we're raised, right? Like on paper, it's an amazing relationship, and there was so much love there. However, at the end of the day, it just couldn't work out.
Yeah.
What on average is the number of connecting lines that you see when couples come to you?
Yeah, so I would probably say the ones that I see the most is somewhere around I'd say 6 to 9 channels.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah, connected. Yeah, it's a good number. It's a really good number. So,
Cool.
And the soulmate ones are super fun, because you'll see, it's hard to just describe it without, a visual, but imagine like these two obscure ones that I have over here, like the person is literally matching the obscure placements of these channels. Like, it just seems so interesting, like how you were born at this particular time and found this person, and you're in relationship, because the matching is so spot on. So
And so that's called a soulmate channel?
Not necessarily, but it's just when you think about spirituality and how we are so purposed in my belief system, there are no accidents.
Yeah.
There's some matches where we're like, oh my God, what are the chances that you would be connected having this configuration that's so unique?
Oh, neat. Yeah. And so can describe some of the commonalities of those people's relationships. How is their connection? I kind of want to tune into how's our connection different from the rest of our connections?
Yeah. So, I think there's a lot of credence when you look at the chart. And I think it's so much fun to look at the chart. And I think that there's like game-changing, life-changing things you can learn about your individual designs. And also, I think at the end of the day, like there's an unspoken juiciness that just exists when I choose to do my work, you choose to do your work. We know about our designs, and yet we're connected and we're doing all of these things together. And so I'm just making that statement because some people can be like, oh my God, this is it. This is the fix.
Right,
like, boom, like we're so connected. Exactly. But like as a coach, I really believe in being responsible and in being in integrity. When I have clients, that I work with, like, yes, you are so connected and there's so many things you can work on, but the work can't be singular. You can't do this in a vacuum. You have to, like, your partner has to want, to go deeper in their own way as well. And so for me, that's really the most important part.
Right. And just because you may have this, like, the soulmate connection doesn't mean that means relationship's going to be easy for you. Yeah. Just because you have a sparkle connect, like you're going to still have to work on it and do your work as an individual in order to be a good partner.
Yes.
To the special connection that you may have.
No matter what system you're looking at.
No one gets a free pass. Yeah,
that's right.
So back to strategies, Willow is a generator. I'm a manifesting generator. How are our strategies different or the same?
So generator types, the generator in traditional human design, the generator and the manifesting generator are really the same being. There's just an aspect of manifesting generators that make them unique. And we all have as generators, we all have the strategy of waiting to respond. And that in itself can be tricky for most people, especially in a world where, we're trained, so to speak, to be go-getters. Yeah. Like go, 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 do, when in essence we're meant to wait and like check out what feels good to us and what's speaking to us. Like this morning, I chose not to go, and just like, I want to like take my time and have like this ritual experience in my home. And for the first time in like weeks, I like was able to just settle into my morning and approach my work in a different way. So that strategy, learning our strategy is beautiful. And I think we're able to do so much more in life understanding it. Like it's one of those one of those things that people can look at and say, oh, I don't really get it, and just kind of gloss over it. But knowing your strategy and knowing what's called your authority, like that alone, again, will set you up for success for the rest of your life.
Okay, so I want to go back to authority, but just to continue with strategy, what is the strategy of another pattern type in the system, which is the projector?
Sure. The projectors are super special. They're like my favorite. Yeah. Projectors, their strategy is to wait for the invitation. And projectors are here to really be guides and coaches. They like in human design, they did not exist in human form until like the 1700s. Like they literally came onto the planet to help out humanity. Like they're the superheroes of human design, so to speak. So it's really cool. But the waiting for the invitation piece, like imagine having like this whole closet full of like superpowers, and every person you encounter in the world, you're like, oh my God, I can help you. Like you need this, you need this, you need this. And that's literally how projectors are designed, to like have the solutions. But if they were to do that, they're basically moving in a way that's non-consensual.
They're say more about that.
Yeah, they're taking their solutions and placing them on people without that other person saying, I need help.
Yeah. I've had that experience with the projector, and it's like, a lot of the times I do want the help, and then some of the time I'm like, I don't need that right now. So it's like, it's a little bit, it's nuanced. It's very nuanced.
Yes. And it is an art. Yeah, it's an art. And it's not just an art for projectors. It's really for all of us, because we also have that ability to see and to support, and are often like, girl, let me help you. Like, you need to do this. You need to do this. And like, no, like, if you have a solution for someone, you can simply say, oh, wow, I hear what you're saying. I heard you say this. I have some thoughts. Let me know if you'd like to hear them.
Yeah.
And just keep it moving, not be attached to whether the person says yes or no. And from there, they can give their consent, and then you can allow support in.
I'm surrounded by projectors.
Is Matt a projector?
Matt's a projector. Judith is projector. Charles is projector. Christy's a projector. Projectors everywhere.
Yeah.
And I do notice that I think a lot of manifesting generators, I don't know if this includes generators as well, I think we really like to be in their energy because they're great at reflecting back how they see me. So they help me rise to the next level of my mastery because they see my mastery sometimes before I can see it. Yeah. They're able to show me something about myself that makes me go, oh yeah, thanks. I can go run with it, and it's really, really wonderful. And I'd have to say in relationship to what Willow was saying, having a husband who's a projector, he's had his feelings hurt when he sees that he just has the best advice in the world and I am not taking it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't, that's just not for me to pick up right now. I see what you're setting down and I can't pick it up. But thanks anyways. And when I do need it, when I do seek out the support, boy, do I really need it. And I will take the advice. And it is the right answer for me. So it's very uncanny to experience both I can't really take that in right now. I really just need to be listened to. And then during the times when it's like, I'm really stumped here. I don't really see my path forward. What would you do? And then they like lay it down. It's like, ding, ding, ding. Thanks for that piece of gold.
So how do you navigate that then with Matt? Like, what's the language that you use in the moment when you're like, I just can't pick that up right now?
I really try to, first, when I can pick it up, because I ask for help, I really let him know how meaningful that piece of advice is and how insightful it was and how spot on it is, and that it really feels different when I need help and I ask for it, how much I'm able to receive it. So I spend more time on when it's the right piece of information. Then you're building
emotional capital.
Yeah, capital. Versus I'm usually just kind of quiet. I let him say what he wants to say, and then and if I'm frustrated, then I'm like, that's not really helpful right this minute. And then only if he's kind of gets butt hurt because I didn't take it and run with it. Sometimes he'll be frustrated. He's like, well, this is a great podcast on relationships or sexuality. And I'm like, man, I don't have the bandwidth right now to listen to a podcast. I'm glad you got insight out of it. Write it down. Put it on the refrigerator. When I got a half a breath, maybe I'll pick it up. But, so sometimes that's an example.
Yeah. He could really benefit from, and all projectors, and again, all of us, because we all can do this projected energy thing, understanding the value of the insight that he has. Mm-hmm. And choosing to observe you from a space of, is this right timing? Is this not right timing? Yeah. As generator types, when we get interrupted, when we're in our workflow or our processing flow, it is disruptive.
That's so true.
It's literally like derailing the train. And so if projectors are able to zoom out from their experience and like look and say, what's happening around me? And like, although I know I have valuable insight, this is probably not the time. And then reapproach when it feels more like the time, and then create the invitation, which is, hey, I have some thoughts about whatever happened yesterday. Let me know if you're interested. Yeah. And then it's literally handing you, Leah, that beautiful invitation that you can choose to then say, here you go. Yes, please. I would love your insight.
I think too, like at work, for instance, he took a handful of years off and got a chance to have a little semi-retirement, and he's now back at work. And he has a lot of experience in the industry that he's in. And so he has a lot of insight. He's super good at efficiency. I think one of the gifts of the projector is they can zoom out, see the big picture. I'm the type of person that gets lost in the weeds and loves to color code a spreadsheet. Like Matt could not tolerate such a thing. And so he can see like how to optimize efficiency and where people are wasting time, and it makes him bananas.
Yes.
And so he's got all these ideas, and there are times when his the upper management, like, they don't have the bandwidth, and so I've been letting him know, like, your ideas are really good, but make sure that your boss is resourced before you hand her the suggestions.
So
otherwise, all your great ideas go in one ear and out the other.
Totally. And what I would say to that, how you're describing him, it sounds like he has a specific area in his chart that makes him like incredible at his work.
Yeah.
And for people that have this knowledge, this effortless knowledge, they really in so many ways should be working for themselves.
Yes, but that's
like
interesting.
the concept of boss for people who are able to zoom out and see it's just a whole nother conversation. And it's like between like love and sex and business, nothing excites me more. So we can continue.
Well, what's interesting about what you're saying, Ameenah, is that prior to going back into the workforce, Matt owned his own auto body shops. He had 3 auto body shops, and then they sold to a consolidator, so he got to have some time off for a handful of years. And now he's back working for the company that bought his businesses. So it is kind of interesting. I think a part of him definitely thrived when he worked in the family business, and he was one of the head honchos.
Yeah.
But he's also one of those people, and I wondered if this was a projector theme. He isn't all that, like, the type of person that will self-promote. Mm-hmm. So, like, that really goes against his essence, is to be this person that is, like, has to prove their status by talking about themselves and promotion, which if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to tell people about your business. You got to be able to like execute things. Right. And that requires like being able to self-generate. And it seems like projectors are unique in the way that they, unlike generators, they're not there to be perpetual motion machines of like pumping out stuff, It's like they're more visionary. So do you see, like, have you noticed from an entrepreneurial standpoint how many projectors are entrepreneurial versus some of the other types?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference in everyone. Every aura type could be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure.
And the projectors that do entrepreneurship well tend to be the ones that understand their lane. And
like magic.
Yes. And it's interesting because there's a particular type of projector that is really most positioned for like multi-million-dollar success, like out of everyone in the aura types.
Oh, neat.
Like 5/1 projectors are like if they can figure their stuff out and they are being, given guidance in the guidance that they give. I mean, they're on fire.
Fun.
But projectors really getting that, okay, this is what I love to do, number one. Like, this is what I love to do, and then this is what I'm good at. We call it zone of genius.
Okay, so now the 2 other, are they called aura types that we haven't talked about, are reflectors and manifestors.
Manifestors, yes. Yeah, so manifestors are fun, 9% of the population, and they are the initiators of the aura types.
And just to be clear, they're different than manifesting generators.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, they are different from manifesting generators, and there is like a little bit of essence of manifester in manifesting generators, hence the similarities in the name. And the manifestors are here to initiate. They're here to say like, oh, I just felt this impulse to like go do this, to say this, to bring this, to make this, and they go do that. And although it's rewarded in adulthood, it is not really rewarded as kids. Like if you have a child who was just like left the house and didn't say anything, you're like, what the hell? Like as a parent. And like in
That's
school.
funny. I
and
have a
all
friend who
these-
has 2 manifesting children.
Girl.
She's like, this is not fair.
Yes, and I have some relatives that have manifesting children, and when I interact with them, my heart is like it hurts because they're not really being reared in a way that celebrates that.
Yeah.
And a lot of adult manifestors are really like beaten down, so to speak, and they're trying to reawaken their connection to that spark. So it's sacred work and important for manifestors to come alive again. And then you've got the reflectors, which are 1% of the population.
I was gonna say, I've never met a reflector that I know of. I really want to meet one.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a reflector relative, and I also have several reflector clients, one of which she lives in Portugal, and she's American. And like when I think about how we interact, and I think about reflectors in general,
they're like the smallest percentage of
they
Yeah,
are
1%.
only
Yeah.
1%.
1%. Yeah.
It's only 1%. And when you look at their chart, it's all no centers. None of the chakras
No
are
color
colored
defined.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
they just have gates.
Okay.
And so they're here to reflect the condition, the climate, the being of the world back to itself. And so it's so powerful to be.
Can you tell a
Yeah.
story that
Sounds
sort
very
of-
like ethereal.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
What's a story that sort of describes that part of their genius?
Sure. So, this reflector client, she's, like I said, in Portugal, and she's a part of one of my programs. And I was experiencing like some kind of like a place where I was stuck in how I was interacting with this particular cohort, in the cohort that she's in. And I'm having this conversation. I was supporting her with some business stuff. And she's like, yeah, regarding that issue, like, I see what's occurring. And also I would just do this. And her statement of I would just do this was so impactful, because in an instant I could see who I was being in my leadership. And it's not anything big or significant, but it's a slight shift that I needed. And I was able to make 2 adjustments, and like I'm relieved. I could feel the relief in my clients, like, and it just was like her reflecting who I was being in a moment and how I got to shift. And I was like, thank you. Thank you.
That's cool.
What
Yeah.
do reflectors struggle with? What makes it hard to be a reflector?
Oh,
Seems
girl.
like just being on the earth would be hard for them.
Yes, it is.
They remind me of like the leaving pattern, or the more like energetic kind of person who's like, I don't know if
Has a
I'm really
hard time
supposed
being in a
to
body.
be in this body.
Yeah, it can be rough. And what I see reflectors struggling the most with is, so every single day, several times a day, the thing that changes the most in the human design world, like, it's called the transits, it's the planetary shifts. And so every moment that shifts, the moon shifts, there's a new access to energy. And so literally the morning they could have started as a reflector, by afternoon they were projector, by the evening they're manifesting generator. And
Are
it's
you
this
sure I'm not a
cycle.
reflector? I swear. I'm like changing as the wind changes, as the wind blows.
Girl.
Oh my goodness.
It's rough.
So there's a lot of shifting going on for them. Not a
There
lot of
is.
grounding or stability, it sounds like.
Right. And their grounding, the way in which they can experience being grounding is by being connected to their sense of self in motion, right? In change, right? Like making peace with this new state, making peace with that new state of being. So
So
Yeah.
interesting.
Wow.
Okay, before we run out of time, I want to talk a little bit about how this helps you in your sex life.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes. So many ways. So again, knowing yourself, period. Right? And we talked about profile lines and the differences there.
Yeah.
They're energetically, there are patterns in which the aura types like show up. So for generator types, we typically have the energy period, and the sacral center is being defined as what makes a generator type. And that houses, just like in, in traditional Hindu chakra, the sexuality lives there, right? Reproduction lives there, but also creativity lives there. Yeah.
Right.
And
that
so,
which creates life happens to be the most creative force
yes,
as we know it. Yeah.
exactly. And so as we're interacting with our partner or partners, right, there is energy present. There is creativity and desire that can be present, and emphasis on can be, right? For the other aura types, it can be tricky because without a defined sacral, it can feel as though like you're needing to generate yourself in order to do the act or feel aroused or whatever. But that's not really the case. You just have to find what makes you tick. So for people that are sapiosexual, like defined head and ajnas, like the upper parts of them being defined, and like this delicious intellectual conversation I just had over dinner, like makes me want you, like that type of understanding. To go back to, if you have a generator partner and you are not a generator yourself, that generator partner can typically like a particular thing on repeat.
Okay.
Right? And be almost a little stuck in like, this is the way I like to have sex. Versus someone with an undefined sacral might be more experimental, just depending. Right? So, yeah.
So what I hear you saying is that it's helpful to see where you have a defined center, because that could lead you to understanding more about your turn on. Like how you like to engage.
Yes.
If you have a defined center in some area, you get clues about the things that engage your attention and therefore can lead you to turn on.
Yes.
And then if you have an open center, which is a center that's not defined or colored in, you can allow yourself to be influenceable by someone else having that defined center. So it's like, okay, I maybe I don't have a defined sacral, but my partner does. Let me really pay attention and be influenceable about their turn on, because the likelihood that I could catch the bug might be greater if I remain open to said bug. I don't know where I'm coming up with that metaphor, but am I resonating? Am I following?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. When you understand the wiring that you have and the wiring that your partner has, it literally changes everything. So my girlfriend, she's a manifesting generator, and she has all centers defined. Wow. And so I know.
Must be a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
Well, I'm thinking that's lucky, is it not?
Not necessarily.
No. Okay.
So that's the thing. That's the more, the more is better kind of like fallacy, so to speak.
Okay.
She's just has a busyness in her energy field.
In her system. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so in order to reach her and to be in this experience of like intimacy, and we're very intimate in our day to day. I know how to reach her, and when I want to make sure that I'm creating and connecting intimacy, I do that by taking her out of her head. Right? Like the busyness in her design, like I get to, use more of my dominant energy to like bring her into her body versus the busyness in her being. And so it's a fun dance.
Especially in combination with, seeing the lines of compatibility between you and your partner, knowing how to leverage what your the parts of you that have strong attraction, and then also strong harmonic values. Like there's a way with which you're a match, and then also being honest about those lines that are in opposition, right?
Yes.
That are challenges, that so that you can be informed about where the most likely stumbling blocks are between you and your partner's chart, so that you can know where to get support, so you get more information.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think you said there were 3 areas. You focus first on yourself when you get a reading, understand the self first.
Yes.
And then you can do a chart where you're looking at the overlay between 2 people.
Yes.
And then what's the third?
So when I do couples work, it really looks like this. We have just like a general first session, what's going on. Second and third session is like, let me do partner 1's chart and tell you about you. Let me do partner 2's chart and tell you about you, partner 2. And it's a separate, individual only.
Okay.
And then I'll do a fourth session that will be partner 1. Let me tell you about partner 2's chart.
Okay.
And then a fifth, and vice versa. And then together, the 6th session, it's like, here's life work that I want you all to do. And here, what did we learn? And when you experience someone learning about their partner's chart by themselves, it's like this, like, oh my God, I had this couple that had been married for 30 years. And the husband was like, you mean to tell me that this whole time I thought she's been doing this to get on my nerves? Like she's intentionally been like, making digs or messing with me. And he's like, I have some serious apologizing to do.
Wow.
Because this is like, she's actually her gift, and I've not been seeing it as a gift.
Wow.
And the next day he sent this like wedding photo from them from like the 80s or 90s, and like a recommitment statement. I was like,
oh, that's so sweet.
Oh, what a
Total
gift you gave
perspective
them.
shift. Wow. That's
it
great.
That's major.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
I mean,
So,
that's really the name of the game, is just to see things that have been going in one direction to like turn them
Yes.
around and see them from the other
Yes.
side.
Yeah.
This is the difference between like looking at a tool like, oh, this is a cute little assessment, these are my strengths,
Yeah.
versus like, wow, this is who I am and who I was designed to be. And like, these are the gifts of my design, and these are the shadowy parts of my design.
Yeah. And to also see your partner and go, wow, I see you more now. Like,
Yeah.
I see you, I understand you, I appreciate you at a depth. And maybe there were some things missing in that appreciation that are now visible to me. I mean, what a gift. But it's just huge.
Amazing.
I also think it's quite beautiful to see 2 charts come on top of each other. I got to see
Right.
that with Matt in my chart and go, here's my human design, here's Matt's human design. And now look at the human design it creates when you place them on top of each other.
Yes.
It was really just visually beautiful and then really interesting.
Yeah.
So if people want to work with you, Ameenah, how do they get in touch?
So they can visit my website. It's theshecollective.com, and she is spelled SHI. And it's a Japanese term that, I lived for years in Japan. So theshecollective.com is where you can find me. You can also find me on Instagram or YouTube. Just search Ameenah Asante, and I'm there.
And I understand you have a free gift for our audience, the Power of Human Design live workshop, Hidden Wealth. Tell us about
Yes. So in Wealth and Human Design, it's really talks about us as a tribe of humans. And we all have hidden wealth inside of us. And I'm not talking solely about money. I'm talking about the vibration of life, what life really looks like when we maximize our inner knowing and who we were meant to be. And so by tapping into those things, we really expand. We expand and we live wealthy lives based on this vibration. So yeah, it's a workshop that I'll be teaching coming up in April. And also from there, there's workshops that happen that you can join for free, and I'm happy to serve. It's an honor to do this work.
Aw,
Awesome.
so wonderful to have you on the show, Ameenah. Thank you so much for all the wealth of information.
you.
I'm much more interested in human design now at the end of our time together.
Yes, let's talk. I would love to support.
Yeah,
Love it.
check out the show notes, everybody, to get in touch with Ameenah, get that free gift. And thanks so much for being here. Go have lunch at Altu's. Eat the lima beans for me, please. and tell her I'm going to come to town in May, and I'm going to get the recipe if she'll give it to me.
Oh, I love it.
And for those of you who've never had Ethiopian food, go support your local Ethiopian restaurant because it's yum, 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 and it makes me wish I was in East Lansing right now.
So good.
All right, everyone, stay tuned. We're dishing up next with Dr. Willow and Leah. Thank you, Ameenah.
Thank you.
Love, love, love.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
It's Dish It Up time with Ameenah Asante. You know, I can't tell you how pleasing it is to me when we have guests from Michigan, which we've had a number now, but I don't believe we have ever had a guest from Ojai, California, except for your cousin.
That's true. That is true. I got to tell you, I don't think I've told you this fun factoid yet, but I met a boy. I met a cute boy. He had a tattoo and I was like, what is that? He's like, that's Michigan. I was like, oh my God, I got to tell Leah. Okay, enough about that. Back to Ameenah Asante. First of all, just love her name, love her energy,
Beautiful
love
name.
her style, and just so fun to chat with her about human design as somebody who's really gotten into human design in the last year or so. I know you were tickled pink the whole episode.
Yeah.
And for me, just kind of like really keeping human design at bay because I'm like, I can't take in any more information. I'm at maximum capacity for information in the world. But I felt like the episode was really like opened things up. Like it really, if you just know a few layers of it, a few levels of it, then, you know, you can really get a lot of benefit from it. So it is fun, all the typing stuff out there.
You know, it's opposite for me. I wasn't as interested in human design to just have the few layers up top.
Yeah.
My interest for human design got really exciting.
When you got into the deeper
layers. When I go
layers.
into the deep dive of it. That's when it really captured my attention. And I got to see the nuances, which felt much more personal and less generic for me.
Yeah.
Though one of the things that reminded me of something that I also want to pour into is the Enneagram. Maybe we should have her sister on the show.
I know. Exactly.
Because that's one area of pattern typing that I relate to, but I haven't done a deep dive on, and I really think it could be beneficial.
Yeah, I've done more probably with the Enneagram, but again, still haven't fully dove in all the way into it. What was that other typing stuff that we had a guest on? Ennio style. Do you remember that?
Ennio style.
Yeah, it was like
That's
based
right.
on the directions, like north, south, east, west.
That was one that was for dating.
Yeah.
That was episode number.
Oh, if you can remember the number.
I will pull it up because I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And she's got a whole podcast on her own, too.
Yeah. Paulina Solda, episode 66. Yes, the compatibility cure. Why traditional dating advice keeps failing you. And she had a really cool system on seeing what attracts you, like the polarity. And, you know, not everybody, there's lots of people who aren't really into pattern typing, my husband being one of them, but I just find it so interesting and helpful. Our brains are wired as human beings to be meaning-making machines, and we like patterns.
And we like understanding
patterns, and making sense of things.
Yeah.
And I think how we end up responding to the people that we care about in life really can be influenced by understanding their patterns and the things that repeat themselves and ways with which they can hear things or ways with which they get triggered by things.
Yeah.
And when you have insight into that, I think you can become a better partner, a better friend, better lover, better parent, all those things. You know, the love languages is another type of patterns. The erotic blueprints, if you go to episode number 2 with Ian Ferguson from the erotic blueprints. That's another really helpful type of, you know, sorting out
Yeah, so if you
How to
haven't
respond.
heard of human design and you listened to this episode and you were like, this is interesting, you can actually go to the She Collective, SHI collective.com, and I think Ameenah has some good info on there to kind of start dabbling and getting
Yeah.
involved and learning a little bit more. So
You
check that
know,
out.
I was going to ask her what her favorite human design app is, and I forgot. But there is the human design app. I have that. It's free. They have an upgraded version. And then there's another human design app that's actually better, but it's they don't really have a free version. I'm looking that up, but I do really like it. It's called H Design. H Design. Great app. So if you start to get interested, it's really fun. You can upload. You'll need the birth time, the birth location, and the birth date in order to create a chart for someone's human design. If you can't, one of the places to find the birth time for someone is on their birth certificate. At least that's true of people who live in the United States. And because that's usually the trickiest thing to find out about yourself is what time you were born. It's on most birth certificates, if that's helpful. And then you can generate all sorts of charts on all sorts of people, which I have done.
It's so fun. So fun. So check out Ameenah Asante on her website and check her out on her freebie. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and commenting on this episode. We will see you on the flip side. And until then, we hope you love, 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 love.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.